Stocks on Wall Street closed Tuesday session with slight gains, but the fall in software stock keeps gains in check. The Dow and Nasdaq both added 30 points. Major markets across Asia remained shut. GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive open for the Wall Street, D Street. US-Iranian officials hold second round of talks in Geneva. Iran's foreign minister says both countries have reached an understanding on the main guiding principles to resolve their nuclear dispute, but that does not mean a deal is imminent. US Vice President J.D. Vance also added that talks went well, with both countries agreeing to meet later. Oil prices declined nearly 2% overnight as US and Iran signaled progress in nuclear talks. Gold and silver prices, however, declined amid the ongoing talk between US and Iran. Gold slipped below $4,900 a month. U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer signaled that Trump administration is open to changing how its tariffs on steel and aluminum are enforced, as businesses have argued that calculating duties has been complex and costly. Rollback, if any, could have a mixed reaction on Indian steel and aluminum stocks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosts French President Macron in India. Bilateral talks covered cooperation in industry, defense, clean energy, space and emerging technologies. The two nations will also strengthen networks between startups and MSMEs, promote exchange among students and researchers, and establish new joint innovation centers. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. I'm Vinny Motiwala. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. In terms of the Asian markets, most of the Asian markets are shut. Whether you look at the Korean index, you will see Singapore, Taiwan, China, all of them are on a holiday. So we do not have much volumes coming in on the Asian front. ASX 200 is the one that's managing to hold on to some bit of a green in the trading session. Nifty implied open, indicating a bit of a positive start for the Indian market. Last couple of days, we've seen a bit of a positive uptick. As of now, it's a 20-point uptick that the Nifty implied open is indicating. So let's move on and now talk about what are the overnight cues that have come in on the domestic front, on the global front as well, that could impact our Indian markets. We have a team of research here to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for, as well as cues in the world of F&O. First up, let's go across to Gaurav, who's here to tell us the important cues that we're keeping an eye out on in today's trading session. Good morning, Gaurav.
Well, good morning. If you look at Nifty, it was in the shade of green yesterday with 0.2% of gain, and it was led by Adani Enterprise, ITC, Infosys, BEL and Adani Ports. If you look at sector-wise the performance, Nifty PSU and Nifty IT, those were the big gainers, but at the same time, Nifty Metals remained in that losing side. At the same time, what was a positive cue is that FIR turned positive once again, because if you look at the FIR net position, they were net buyers worth 990 crores in the market. So what are the cues that we are watching today? First is that if you look at Asian markets, as you mentioned rightly, many of the Asian exchanges are closed on the back of the Lunar New Year in the likes of Singapore, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong. But at the same time, let's not forget that the French President, Mr. Macron, is here in India, and he's going to visit the AI Summit as well. So that is something that we will be closely watching out on, as we are already seeing many deals flowing through across India and other nations as well. If you look at the global cues, FOMC minutes of meeting will be released today. So that is something that we will be watching out for. And at the same time, some key data points like building permits and housing starts. Now, this is something that we will be watching from the US market. From the Japanese market, we will be seeing what the balance of trade amount comes. And let's not forget that now there is also some deal which is going on between the US and Japan. So let's also watch out on that if there is any impact on the Indian market. And lastly, let's also not forget about the Iran and US talks. So that is also a crucial part, because that is not only impact the crude, but it will also be impacting the imports and exports market. So let's focus on all these events and see how the market performs. But all in all, GIFT Nifty as of now suggests some positive upside in the beginning of the day today.
Okay, Gaurav, thank you so much for that. But let's go across to Ria, who's here to tell us some of the stocks that we're keeping an eye out on this morning. Good morning, Ria.
Well, good morning. Let's start off with Dabur first. They have appointed Harjeet Bhalla as the India CEO and they have elevated Mohit Malhotra to the global CEO role. Ola Electric will also be in focus. The Goa High Court has stayed the arrest warrant against Bhavish Agarwal issued by the Consumer Court, and the High Court has also observed that the District Consumer Commission had exceeded its jurisdiction under the Consumer Protection Act while issuing the warrant. So this stock will be in focus on the back of that. Dilip Bilkon will also be in focus. They have been declared as the L1 bidder for a 702 crore project, EPC project, which will be executed over the next 24 months. And lastly, BHEL has also been awarded an order from SAIL for a captive power plant. The order value is between 1200 to 1500 crores, and this will be executed over 39 months.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Riya. But let's go across to Sudarshan, who's here to give us the final update that we should keep an eye out on today. That's in the world of F&O. Good morning, Sudarshan. Today, a muted start as of now, slight bit positive start, we could say, for the Nifty. But what are the cues suggesting?
Good morning, Vinny. So first, if you talk about yesterday's session, it was not a bad day of trade. Even if you take a look by the point-wise, Nifty was just up around 20 to 30 points. But good part is Nifty has held on to the levels around 100 DMA of 25,690. Now, the broad range for Nifty is from 25,500 to 26,000 as per the options data. Another positive part is FIs have built positions on the long side. Now, flows, if you talk about in the index futures, they have bought off almost 700 crore, but they were sellers in select stocks. That's the reason the stock futures selling figure was around 1900 crore. Come to the exposure, longs exposure has seen a minor increase 21% because of the addition of long contracts of around 3,600. On the short side, they have reduced positions by around 230 contracts. Now, the overall short exposure is 79%. Now, in the options data, 25,700 and 25,500 have seen maximum additions on the put side. On the call side, 26,000 and 25,700 were the most active ones. Now, support for Nifty would be 25,500. That's your 20 DMA. And resistance, first resistance would be around 25,756. That's your 50 DMA. Two stocks remain in the bank. Those are SAIL and Samant Capital. I'll keep an eye on few stocks. Those stocks which have been seeing fresh longs are first Indian Bank. All the PSU banks have been were higher yesterday also, and most of them have seen fresh longs. Union Bank. And another one is PG Electroplast, has been seeing an up move for the last few sessions. On the short side, BSE, all the capital market plays have been under pressure for the last few days. BSE has been seeing fresh shorts. Wari, Hinzing, after the big fall that we have seen in precious metals, keep an eye on that. And PB Fintech, because there was some news flow as well. So all these stocks have seen fresh shorts in the yesterday's session.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Sudarshan. But on that note, we're actually going to slip into a very short break. Up next, we'll get you all the overnight developments from the White House in a special segment, Trump What? Stay tuned in. Thanks for staying tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now let's move on and talk about the US market. Wall Street indices ended with mild gains in yesterday's trading session. Software-related stocks continued to see that fall due to AI-related fears. Let's go across to CNBC's Steve Kowak, who's here to give us a wrap on what happened on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across the major indexes in Tuesday trading as Wall Street tries to mount a comeback after a losing week. The Dow gained 32 points, the S&P 500 added 7 points, and the Nasdaq was up 32 points. Warner Brothers Discovery said Tuesday it would restart merger talks with Paramount Skydance for a limited 7-day window. Paramount launched a hostile takeover offer for the media giant at $30 per share after losing out to Netflix in a bidding war. And Bayer said Tuesday its Monsanto unit is proposing a $7.25 billion class action settlement to resolve all current and future claims that its Roundup weed killer gave customers cancer. Under the terms, people who can prove they were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after being exposed to Roundup could claim funds for up to 21 years. The plan still needs approval from a judge. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Thank you so much for that. Now, moving on, Ellen Zentner of Morgan Stanley Wealth Management says that U.S. economy is not performing well in terms of fiscal push and acceleration in the market. Adds productivity needs to be broadening out across sectors other than tech and AI. Listen in.
In the CPI report from last week, we sort of glossed over the fact that if you took out used vehicles, there were price increases for a lot of goods. Yeah. And who hasn't opened up the paper? Sorry, I'm dating myself. Opened up your news app and read about price hikes that are happening at the beginning of the year as companies didn't do it last year. And now they have to make up for lost time. Is that something that's going to derail the economy if inflation does reaccelerate here? I don't think so. What we want to see, though, is that productivity is broadening out across sectors and not just tech and AI heavy, or the results that we need to get that those efficiencies onboarded to businesses broadly, and that's how you get the other 493 companies and the S&P 500 to move higher. And we're seeing that. Yes. And we're seeing some nascent signs of business investment broadening out while still getting more capex in those heavy areas of tech and AI, which is absolutely needed.
Now, moving on, and in some important statements coming in from U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer, who says that Trump administration is open to some adjustments to steel and aluminum tariffs, even though they have been very successful. Listen in.
Well, on steel, remember, we've shipped 300,000 million metric tons more this year than we did the year before. We've produced more than Japan. There was some reporting over the week about adjustments there. I mean, you may want to sometimes adjust the way some of the tariffs are applied for compliance purposes. I'm not giving you double talk here. We've heard stories of companies that have had to hire extra people for compliance. We're not trying to have people, do so much bean counting that they're not running their company correctly. The president's tariffs on steel and aluminum have been very successful, shipping more steel than ever, opening up new steel lines, new aluminum smelters announced. So clearly those are going the right direction. They're going to stay in place. Even if the tariffs affected prices in the way people say, which they don't, right? All the studies are overblown. But even if they did, it's usually a one-time price effect, not a sequential price effect over 14 months. I mean, it's just crazy. If you look at inflation, the actual inflation for manufactured goods, right, which is the bulk of what's being tariffed coming in, was at only 1.1% over the past 12 months. So the idea that the tariffs are inflationary are totally belied by the data. And guess what? That's what happened during the first term too. When we put significant tariffs on China, inflation went down. So all of these studies, all of these things, they're just predictions. They have never come into effect. And this is real money coming in. The point of the tariffs is to reshore and protect domestic production, but all of that tariff revenue has a real effect. And I've had members of Congress who haven't historically been fans of tariffs come to me and say, maybe we can legislate this because that is actual funding that's going to come in to offset the deficit.
Now, moving on and getting you the latest on Trump-related developments, starting with the first commentary that came in. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced Japan's first round of investments in American energy and critical mineral projects, marking an early rollout of commitments made under sweeping bilateral trade agreement. Trump highlighted in a post on Truth Social, framing it as a major milestone in U.S.-Japan economic ties. He said that Japan is now officially and financially moving forward with the first set of investments under its $550 billion commitment to invest in the United States. Moving on, President Donald Trump has also been talking about tax refunds, and this year that will be substantially larger than ever before because of his signature of that one big beautiful bill which was passed last year. Now, he took to Truth Social and he said to promote the expected refunds ahead of 2026 filing season, saying that some taxpayers could see more than 20% returned. He pointed to the provision that will eliminate taxes on tips, Social Security benefits for seniors, and overtime pay while allowing interest deductions on car loans, among other measures that were announced as well. And finally, the US-Iran talks that made progress in nuclear talks in Geneva on Tuesday, with Tehran negotiations scheduled to return with new proposals in the next couple of weeks. And this is as per reports. Also, Vice President J.D. Vance indicated the talks between US and Iran went well. That's all we have in today's edition of Trump Watch, but details on Iran and US nuclear talks after this short break as well. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, the second round of talks between Iran and United States concluded in Geneva, and the negotiations held at Oman's embassy in Swiss City were mediated by Omani Foreign Minister, who said that the talks ended with good progress towards identifying common goals and relevant technical issues. He added that much work is yet to be done and parties left with clear next steps before the next meeting. A report from Axios cited a US official saying that Iran is expected to return with detailed proposals in the next 2 weeks. US Vice President J.D. Vance also commented on the talks, saying that in some ways United States diplomatic talks with Iran went well as both parties agreed to meet afterwards. Listen in.
I think the president has a lot of options. We do have a very powerful military. The president's shown a willingness to use it. He also has a remarkable diplomatic team. He's shown a willingness to use that, too. And so what the president has been very clear with the Iranians, and actually I just talked to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner this morning about some of their negotiations, is the United States has certain red lines. Our primary interest here is we don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. We don't want nuclear proliferation.
Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi told Iranian media that the talks were held in a constructive atmosphere compared to previous round in Oman. He added that the Islamic Republic has consistently affirmed that it neither seeks to manufacture nor acquire nuclear weapons.
A new window of opportunity has opened, under which we had the second round of the negotiations with the United States earlier today here in Geneva. We are hopeful that negotiation will lead to a sustainable and negotiated solution which can serve the interest of relevant parties and the broader region. The Islamic Republic of Iran has consistently affirmed that it neither seeks to manufacture nor to acquire nuclear weapons, which have no place whatsoever in Iran's national security doctrine.
Okay, now let's move on and get Manisha Gupta, who's here to tell us what's happening in the world of commodities this morning. Good morning, Manisha. Commentaries coming in on US-Iran front. Gold seems like it's lost some shine today.
It is, yes. The US and Iran, as we just played out those bites therein, have reached a general agreement. But a document is yet to be signed here, and there is a belief that there could be another round of talks as well coming in there. For the crude oil prices, it also is about the US-mediated Ukraine-Russia negotiations, which also are expected to continue in Geneva. So we have seen some premium come off in case of crude oil prices, which have edged lower for a third straight day. Not just crude, natural gas is trading at a 6-week lows as well. With the kind of mixed comments that we are hearing from the Fed officials on rate cut, there is some decline that we've seen in precious metals also. So gold has declined overnight, silver fell 2%, platinum is trading at a 2-month lows, copper is trading at a 6-week lows, nickel at a 1-month low, lead at an 8-week lows. So that's exactly how the commodity market seems to be moving right now. From energy to precious metals to base metals, everything seems to be trading in a bit of a decline right now. The strength in US dollar index also seems to be weighing on.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. But let's move on. And French President Emmanuel Macron is in India for an official visit. Macron held bilateral talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Mumbai and will be attending the AI summit in the national capital today. Both leaders also virtually inaugurated a light helicopter final assembly line of Tata Airbus at Karnataka's Vemagal. While addressing the press conference in Mumbai, PM Modi said that Indo-French ties knows no boundaries. Macron also highlighted the collaboration between the two nations and called for deeper strategic partnership.
हमें गर्व है कि भारत और फ्रांस मिलकर माउंट एवरेस्ट की ऊंचाइयों तक उड़ान भरने वाला विश्व का एकमात्र हेलीकॉप्टर भारत में बनाएंगे और ये पूरे विश्व को एक्सपोर्ट भी करेंगे। यानी इंडिया फ्रांस पार्टनरशिप नोज नो बाउंड्रीज।
हमने ये भी आज निर्णय लिया है कि हम इस साझेदारी को एक विशेष स्ट्रेटेजिक साझेदारी में बदलेंगे। हम अलग अलग चीज़ों पर काम करके हमने एक नए रास्ते, कई नए रास्ते चुने हैं, जैसे कि तीसरा रास्ता जो हिंद प्रशांत क्षेत्र का हो या फिर तकनीक का हो या फिर, और जिसमें हम ऐसा रास्ता है जिसमें कोई भी हेजेमनी ना हो किसी, और हम पूरी तरह से कानून में, रूल ऑफ लॉ में विश्वास करते हैं।
Okay, with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up next, a Bazaar Morning Call.